Okay. Well, good morning to everybody out there who is listening to our class sponsored by Hadassah Lavona chapter Modi'in, and we're here to learn chapter the remainder of chapter 1, Shmuel Bet. And we're going to go into, after that, we're going to go into chapter 2 of Sefer Shmuel Bet. And we have a lot of very, very interesting things in store to learn today. So we're going to get right into it. Um, we have davened for those in need of refuah shalema, and we rejoice in the mazel tovs that each of us are celebrating. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Okay, everybody. Now, does anybody
Please, Jude.
remember what we learned last week? It was very interesting um, about David and the Amalekite. Anybody want to give us a little review? Okay.
Well, the
So,
Amalekites, he came from where the battle was going on with Shaul, and he came to David's camp, and he told him that Shaul was dead, and that Shaul had requested from him. So he said this that he requested that he kill him, so that he shouldn't be disgraced or taken advantage of by the Amalekites. And then there's another story. Can we believe him? Of
right,
course, there were certain things that didn't jive
right,
with
didn't
what
add up. Right, right,
had up. Okay,
r-
thank you.
exactly. So,
And what happened was David had him killed.
right. So clearly, the Amalekite messenger came, like all Amalekites, to get a reward for a fabricated story, and it was not a true story. He probably was one of the people Amalekites who came to the battlefield picking up the spoils and the goods that were left behind by the armies, and he came across the interaction between Shaul as he's dying with his sword bearer who refused to kill him, and Shaul says, I'm dying and I don't want to be taken by the Philistines, because he knew how treacherous and awful the Philistines were, and he didn't want to suffer anymore. I'm sure that it was a disgrace as well. So he asks to be killed, and he is told by his arms bearer no. And so he throws himself on his own sword and dies. As a result, from the wounds that were recorded in the chapter by the archers of the Philistines. Now, it's important to remember this because it has plays a significant part in what we're going to learn today. That the archers of the Philistines were so sharpshooters, they were so astute with their bows and arrows that they could actually kill a person very easily. And we see that Shaul and his and Yonatan, and it mentions another son die on the battlefield. And because this Amalekite comes to David with Shaul's crown and his bracelet, and tells a lie, and David understood that it wasn't true, that he had this Amalekite killed. And I think I mentioned last week that the irony of the story is that the last word that the king Shaul hears or sees is probably Amalekite or Amalek, and that was the reason for the beginning of his downfall, that he did not listen to God and did not kill all of the
Right.
Amalekites. So, um, so now in that chapter that we learned, chapter one of Shmuel Bet, and we talked about that the division of Sefer Shmuel into Aleph and Bet is not a Jewish thing. It was done by the Greeks. They divided it up, and they really should not have divided it at this point. They should have waited a couple chapters. For whatever reason, they decided to do that. We're not sure, but all right, that's what we have today. And it also, we learn in that chapter one that David gives a eulogy for
Right.
Shaul and Yonatan. Now, before we go to that eulogy, which was part of chapter one, I want to bring you back to a map, in my favorite. Um, so hold on, I'm going to show you this map. Okay, so let's review quickly what is going on, what went on here. You know, this is where the Philistines are located. Oh, we know it so well um, from Gaza and the
Hmm.
crazy stuff that we're seeing nowadays. So here is Judah, where the tribe of Judah was. This is Ziklag.
That's what David
Some
was.
That's where David was given this land. It became incorporated into Judah, but it really was part of the Philistines area. And these red lines is where, they attacked and came into Israel. So the important part here is that, um, let's see, I just wanted you to see that here is the tribe of Judah, and here where David is from, and the tribe of Benjamin, which is where Saul is from, right here. Okay. So, having said that, okay, let's go to we're going to go to chapter one, and we're going to read the rest of what we did not finish in the chapter last week. Uh, and let's see. Okay, so um, let's start at Pasuk 13, which is the story with the Amalekite. So you'll see how it progresses into the eulogy, or what's called the lament of David over Shaul and Yonatan. So, Linda, can you read what's on the screen?
Yes. Where do you want me to start?
Right here, 13.
Okay. And David said to the youth who told him, "From where are you?" And he said, "I am the son of an Amalekite stranger." And David said to him, "How did you not fear to stretch forth your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" And David called one of the youths and said, "Go near, fall upon him." And he struck him and he died. And David said to him, "Your blood be upon your head, for your mouth has testified against you, saying," I can't see what comes after that, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed." And David lamented with his lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan, his
Uh,
son.
okay, so what happened in this chapter is that it goes straight from killing the Amalekite and saying you killed yourself because you lied to me, and not only that, but because you said you killed the Lord's anointed, which is referring to Shaul. David has such reverence that for the king, even though the Shaul made him crazy and chased him all over the region, he still had reverence, respect, and was very careful never to harm King Shaul, no matter what. And so he struck this youth because he felt that you do not touch God's anointed person, no matter what. No, disagree or not disagree. And quite frankly, my friends, that's an amazing lesson that David teaches us, even for today, because we see there's no respect for leaders today. People feel that they can kill anybody they want if they have a disagreement with. They can destroy their property, they can attack them physically, or they can attack them verbally. It doesn't matter. There is no respect. David had respect for whoever God chose, no matter what they did. And it's something that unfortunately does not exist in today's world in the general population. So we go from that to the pasuk that says, "And David lamented um,
Oh,
with a lamentation over Shaul and Yonatan, his son." So David now here goes into an ode, a song, a eulogy about the death of Yonatan, his beloved friend, and King Shaul, God's anointed one. So from here until the end of the chapter is the lamentation, is the eulogy, and it's a very interesting one. You will see that throughout the Sukkim, there is no mention of David and his difficulties with Shaul. It is only positive things that he says, and this has given rise to the tradition that when you give a eulogy, you only talk good about the
yeah.
person, no matter who that person is. David could have said terrible things about Shaul and what he did to him. Shaul really robbed David of many, many, many years of his life.
Right.
He took away his wife, his first wife, who was Shaul's daughter. He separated them from each other, and he chased David all over the country, putting David's life in great peril and slaying innocent people because they align themselves with David. So the whole story of Shaul chasing um, David is one that we can't wrap our heads around so easily, and we ask why does why did this happen? And this was the result of the withdrawal of Hashem's Shekhinah with Shaul, because once Shaul started to disregard Hashem's commandments on how to do certain things, whether it was to kill the Amalekites and whether it was to wait for the prophet Shmuel to come and make a sacrifice. No matter what it was, Shaul always did his own interpretation of God's commandments. And then when he was reprimanded, he blamed it on the people. So we see that Shaul, although Hashem wanted to give the tribe of Benjamin an opportunity to redeem themselves from what we learned in Shoftim, and he did not rise to the occasion, and it was a disaster, a failed kingship, which was a very sorrowful state for the people of Israel. So now we go into the lament, and I'm going to have you read the entire thing, and then we'll go over it line by line because it has some very important things for us to know. Okay, Linda, you want to continue?
Yes. What are we up to? 18?
Yeah. Well, here, you can start here.
Oh, okay. And he said to teach the sons of Judah the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of the just. O beauty of Israel, on your high places shall lie the slain. How have the heroes fallen? Tell it not in Gath. Announce it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. O mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew nor rain upon you, nor shall you be fields of heave offerings, I guess, to the mighty was rejected. Saul's shield was as though not anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, Jonathan's bow did not turn back, nor did Saul's sword return empty. Saul and Jonathan his son, who were beloved and pleasant in their lifetimes, in their day, I can't make out there, were swifter than eagles and mightier than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who dressed you in crimson with delights, put golden ornaments on your clothes. How did the mighty fall in the midst of the battle? Jonathan, on your high places you were slain. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. You were very pleasant to me. Your love was more wonderful, I guess it says, than the love of women. How have the mighty fallen and the weapons of war perished?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, there's one more. No, you're right. 27.
Okay, so that's the end of it. It's a short eulogy, and
It's all positive.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we're gonna take a look at this line by line. Let's okay. So let's go here and discuss what we just read, because it was a poem. And in a poem, there are sometimes metaphors, there's sometimes poetic license that we don't understand what it really means. And so I'm going to try and explain what David was saying. First of all, we read the prelude to the lament, to the eulogy, and that was with the Amalekite being slain. And that was in Pasuk 16. Then that ends the story of how David learns that Shaul and Yonatan have been killed in battle. And in Pasuk 17, David, like many times in his Tehillim, often says who the Tehillah is for. Do you remember that many times it says it's for the conductor, for the sons of Korach, for Moshe, who
and Asaph also
for Asaph. He previewed the preview of it is that who is this being said to, and why is it being said? So here it is. It's and David lamented with a lamentation over Shaul and Yonatan, his son. So that's who it's about. So there's no question in this eulogy who David is referring to. And then the second part, pasuk, before we get into the actual eulogy, it's who is it for. So we learn who it's about. And then in 17, and then in pasuk 18, we learn who this is directed to. And it says,
Okay.
and he said to teach. Now, this is very interesting. To teach the sons of Judah the bow, behold, is written in the book of the just, the book of Yashar, the righteous, the people who are on the straight path. So, what does that actually mean? The son, he's telling the sons of Judah, who he is a part of, he's part of the tribe of Judah. It's important for you to take a lesson of what happened on this battlefield, my brothers. He's telling them because you are seasoned soldiers with the sword and with the shield, Magain David. They were fighters in the army with a shield and a sword or a spear. And what he's saying is King Saul was killed by archers. It says he had like all these arrows in him as he was dying, and that's why he wanted to be slain. He was in, he was in terrible pain. And he says to the sons of Judah, the tribe of Judah, learn how to protect yourself against those who use the bow, because you will not be able to use your sword and shield or spear and shield to get to these people, because they can stand very far away with a bow and arrow and attack you. So you're going to have to learn how to be astute and prolific in shooting arrows against the enemy. This is something you need to learn. So there was a lesson here to be learned that David is directing to the tribe of Judah. And it said, and behold, this is written, whatever David was saying about the tribe of Judah and this lamentation, it is written in the book of Yashar. Now, what is the book of Yashar? In the Talmud, in Avodah Zarah, there is a section in which the commentators, the Rebbeim of the time, wrote about, excuse me, wrote about the poems or and happenings that were not always put into the Torah and in the Tanakh, in the Ketuvim, in all the other books that that create the Tanakh. Excuse me. But this book, the Book of Yashar, is unknown to us because somehow, of course, throughout our history, it was lost to us. Whether it was burned, whether it was stolen, whether it was destroyed, we don't really know. But whatever that book of Yashar is, it is extremely important because a lot of writings were kept in that, the Jewish writings. Now, many people say when they describe the book of Yashar that they were referring to Bereshit when we learn about Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, because they are referred to as Hashem's Yashar. They were on the straight path of God. And so consequently, that sometimes Bereshit is thought to be the book of Yashar, that maybe that's part of the Torah. Other people say no, it's really the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, because that's where Moshe Rabbeinu tells the people, if you stay on God's straight path, and when you enter into the promised land, you will, and listen to Hashem, you will be fine. But if you don't listen to Hashem, there will be consequences. So some people say that Dvarim is the book of Yashar. And then, of course, there are other commentators who, pick different things to refer to as the book of Yashar. But what I wanted you to know is what it refers to is the book of the just, or the book of the people on the straight path. And we don't know where it is. We don't know what it is. And it seems to have been lost to us, but David refers to it. So in the two lines preceding the actual eulogy, we learn that the eulogy is about Shaul and Yonatan, and that the book is the eulogy is directed at the sons of Judah, which is David's tribe. Okay, and now we get into the actual text of the eulogy, which is very interesting. So I'm going to Rhoda, you want to read this one line at a time, and then I'll comment on it.
O beauty of Israel, on your high places shall lie the slain. How have the heroes fallen?
So how many times we have heard in at funerals today how this sentence, oh how the heroes have fallen, oh how the mighty have fallen. This is taken from this particular pasuk, and so he is addressing his beloved Israel, his beloved people. And he asked the question, how how does it happen that people like this fall and die? Go ahead.
Tell it not in Gath, and not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph.
So what we know that Gat and Ashkelon were part of the Philistine area, the territory, and it says don't tell it to them, because they're going to be so happy. They're going to go out in the streets and dance. Gee, have we heard this before recently?
Yeah.
So, and in the same places. So he's saying there's no need to tell, and the Philistines are always referred to as the uncircumcised.
Yeah.
So we've learned that over many months of learning about the Plishtim. So what we learn here is you don't have to go out and give them the information that Shaul and his sons are dead, because they're just going to be so happy. And that's not what David wants. He's really very, very heartbroken. Go ahead.
Can I just say one? Oh.
Yeah. Someone have something to say?
Yeah, it's like when things happen successfully for terrorists, and then they go back to their community, and what do? They get, it's a candy celebration.
Right.
It's
Well, that's
the
what
same
happened.
thing.
That's what happened in Gaza with Hamas
Right.
and Gaza, and they celebrated. They were all dancing in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exactly, so it's still being done. That's still what
Yeah.
the enemy does when we die. Okay, go ahead.
O mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew nor rain upon you, nor shall you be fields of heave offerings, for there the shield of the mighty was rejected. Shaul's shield was as though not anointed with oil.
Okay, so he's talking to the where the battle took place on the Mount of Gilboa, and he's saying he's admonishing the mountain that there shouldn't be anything going on for you. There shouldn't be rain. You shouldn't gather in the harvest. It should be like a memorial to this war, and that Shaul in this battle was as if God was not with him, as if he was not anointed. And we know that that's really how it ended up, because had God been with him, he would have won. Now, this is the beginning of the mentioning of names. And David was very, very fair about it. He mentions Saul's name 4 times, and he mentions Jonathan's name 4 times, even though he loved Jonathan so much. So we see his even-handedness. Go ahead.
From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, Jonathan's bow did not turn back, nor did Saul's sword return empty.
So one
Oops.
of the things we learn, and the Mefarshim actually tell us, is that Yonatan was an expert archer. He was very good, and the people from the tribe of Benjamin were very good art. They were known for their archery because the Philistines did not allow them to have swords, metal, and uh, so many times we hear that in reading about Yonatan, references to archery. One in particular, which is so famous, is when Yonatan says to David, "I'm going to find out whether my father wants to kill you. And if he does want to kill you, I'll come out to the field and I'll shoot an arrow. And if the arrow goes way beyond where you are, then I'll tell my servant, go get that arrow." You know that story, right? And if the arrow falls short, it means he's signaling David with the arrows that he shoots from his bow. So that was a reference to the proficiency of Yonatan with his bow and arrow, and a reference to the tribe of Benjamin being archers. Okay, continue.
Shaul and Jonathan his son, who were beloved and pleasant in their lifetime, and in their death they were not separated. They were swifter than eagles and mightier than lions.
Okay, we've heard that pasuk many times before, but he references Shaul and Yonatan as being inseparable, that even in death and on the battlefield, they fall together. And it refers to the devotion and the respect that Yonatan had for his father. He always, always stood by his father, even though he loved David very, very much, and couldn't believe that Shaul really wanted to kill his best friend David. So this is a reference to how respectful Yonatan was to his father. Go ahead.
Okay. O daughters of Israel, weep over Shaul, who dressed you in crimson with delights, who put golden ornaments on your clothes.
Continue.
How did the mighty fall in the midst of the battle? Jonathan, on your high places you were slain. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. You were very pleasant to me. Your love was more wonderful to me than the love of women.
Now,
Ooh.
right now, here is where the world just loves to take this pasuk and pervert it and distort it, because this is either the second or third time that we've heard in Sefer Shmuel and in relationship to David how much that Yonatan and David loved each other, and it always references a comparison with women, and so that it's all their love was all for each other was even stronger than that for a woman. This does not mean that they were homosexual or that they were gay. It means that David takes the love of a woman that is so passionate and so strong that men have for a woman that they love, and he puts it in context with that's how much he loved Yonatan, because we know that David had many wives, he had many children. It was not a reference to anything other than the strong passion that these two sons of God had for each other, even though they were on opposite sides. You can say, like, tribe of Benjamin. One was the heir to the throne, one was the anointed to the throne, and yet they loved each other, respected each other, and they in life they were very, very close. So you go ahead and read that again, because I think that's so important that we note how to dispute that when people say, you see, there's perversion, there's this, there's that. No, it is not. Men can love each other very, very passionately because they have a bond with each other in life, whether it's in war, it's in whatever context it's in, and it doesn't mean anything but the actual regard for each other. Go ahead.
Read 26 or 27.
Read 26 again.
I am distressed for you, my brother Yonatan. You were very pleasant to me. Your love was more wonderful to me than the love of women.
Right. And so here, it sounds, uh, I'm distressed. No, he was not just distressed like we think the word distressed would imply. He was heartbroken. He was
Right.
he was he beside himself. He loved this friend of his. So we shouldn't take these words. It was very pleasant to me. No, it was not just pleasant. This is poetry. This is how he wrote it, but it means that he was actually so close to Yonatan. They could talk to each other, they protected each other, they defended each other, and they regarded each other with such respect. And Yonatan, who was a real tzaddik, understood that he would never be king, that the bloodline stopped with Shaul, and that he would not be king because he knew that David was going to be the one that was next in line to be anointed by God. And he was okay with that. He loved Eretz Yisrael so much that he wanted only good for the country and Bnei Yisrael. So these words are, when I was distressed, it was very pleasant. No, I'm heartbroken. I'm distraught. I'm just, I feel awful. I have no words. I'm broken. So this was very, very powerful. And go ahead, the last line.
How have the mighty fallen and the weapons of war perished?
Right. Almost like all of this is futile. Look at this. Oh, how they have fallen, and yet, and for what? The weapons of war are gone. What's the purpose of all of this? So we find that in this short eulogy, David pours his heart out, and he delivers something that's very, very special uh, to Yonatan and for Shaul. So that's the end of the chapter 1 of Shmuel Bet. And it's interesting to note, let's see, that in Shmuel Bet, there are in all of the book of Shmuel, there are three um, uh, songs, or that's basically what they're called, songs of something. When in this particular book, the first song that we learn about is the song from Hannah. Remember Hannah, Shmuel's mother? So her song is written in the book of Shmuel. The second one is in the middle of the book here is the song of um, a lamentation for Shaul and for Yonatan. And the third song by David is um, in the chapter where David has the opportunity in the cave to slay Shaul, but he doesn't. And he's told by his men, you should kill him. He's chasing us all over the country. He's a crazy man. Kill him. And he refuses, and there's a song. So in the book of Shmuel, there are three very, very famous songs, and that we have read and will continue to read. Okay, do you have any questions about this? Any thoughts, any comments about this particular eulogy? Okay, so the next part, the next chapter that we're going to go into is one of tremendous tragedy. Tremendous tragedy. If you think this was tragic, you ain't seen nothing yet. This next chapter is a real shocker. And I don't think it's one that we learned before. And we're going to read some of it today, but I want to prepare you for what we're about to read.
Sure.
The king has died. He's been he has failed. The kingship has failed. He has not served proudly for Bnei Yisrael. They had demanded that they wanted to be like every other nation, to have a king who fought their battles, led them into war, and was successful. Now, who fit that bill? David was, when Shaul was a setting sun, S-U-N, David was a rising sun, S-U-N. And we see this throughout the chapters that we've read thus far. Now, what two tribes are these actually the challenge between? Whose tribes are these two people representative of? Shaul was from Benjamin and Binyamin, and David was from Yehuda, tribe of Judah. And we learned that the tribe of Judah eventually is where the kings and the princes will come, and eventually Mashiach will come. And so the house of David will be the one that stands forever. And what we learn here is that the tension and the rivalry is not over with the end of Shaul and Yonatan. And a second son is mentioned on the battlefield, that those sons do not finish the house of Shaul. And what we learn is that there is another son that Shaul had, and now the problem is that Avner, we've heard that Avner, who was Shaul's general, wants to put this son on the throne and to rule, he should rule over Israel. But what do we already know from Shmuel, from the prophet? This is not supposed
Not
to
gonna,
be
right.
because David has been anointed by Shmuel in front of the sons of his brothers. So we know that what is this? What is this coming? Where is this coming from? That there's another son, and the house of Benjamin is going to live, and there's going to be a king from the tribe of Benjamin. How could that possibly be? And we know that the tribe of Judah over time has learned that David will be king. So what do you think is going to happen?
Maybe he's going to chase David the way Shaul did.
Okay, what
Try to
else?
kill him.
War?
There's going to be clashes between these two tribes. The tension between these two tribes is unbearable here. And in this chapter, we are going to learn what happens between the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Judah. Now, David's general, he fought all these battles for the Philistines, he fought battles for Shaul, and he had his own general, a right hand man, and his name was Yoav.
So,
Yoav, and he was a relative of David from the tribe of Judah. Avner was Shaul's relative, his cousin, and he was the general for Shaul. So, what's going to happen in the next chapter is that there's going to be a clash between Avner, the general, and Joab, the general, tribe of Benjamin against the tribe of Judah. And we're going to see that this is a prelude to civil war amongst the tribes. Now, let's go to let's do a little bit of reading and see whether we can get. So it's chapter 2 and hmm, can you don't see that, do you?
Not yet.
Hmm. I'm sorry that I can't find it here. Um, huh. Okay, let me see. All of a sudden, one of the buttons have disappeared, and I am not able to see how to share this again. Uh,
I could read it
yeah,
from
I'd like to.
oh well.
do you have it in your safer?
Yes, I do.
Okay, who said yes?
Rhoda.
Okay. Okay, Rhoda, you want to read the first few pasukim and then let's we'll get a feel for what's going on here.
Okay,
I can't show it to you on the screen for some reason.
all right. It happened after this that David inquired of Hashem, saying, shall I go up to one of the cities of Judah? And Hashem answered him, go up. David then asked, to where shall I go up? And he responded, to Hebron. So David went up there with two of his wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail,
The
the
wife,
former wife of Nabal the Carmelite.
right.
David also brought up his men who were with him, each man with his household, and they settled in the towns around Hebron.
Okay. So this is telling us what's going to happen now. You understand that this chasing of by Saul of David, this was over many, many, many years. This really was a big period of time. It could have been 15, 20 years. We don't know for sure. It's not well documented. And so now David says to Hashem, basically the war is over. Saul is dead. The king is gone. What am I supposed to do now? And so what he says to the God says to David, yeah, go back. You shall go up. Basically, that's what he go up and go to Judah. Go back to your homeland. Go back to where you belong, your tribe. And where should I go? He says, go. God says, go to Hebron. That's where he's going to bring in, his people from all the battles from Ziklag. They're going to leave the Philistines because there's no reason to stay in Ziklag anymore, and so they're going to go home to the tribe of Judah. And you know that during all of these battles that David has been fighting for the king Achish of the Philistines, he has always sent part of the spoils to the elders and the tribe of Judah. He has always maintained a relationship with Judah, with his tribe. He has never left them, and he has not been a stranger to them. He has always been part of them and always in their thoughts and mind, because he knows that he will have to have the support of his tribe in order to unite the country, because the king was from Binyamin, and he will always have to try and hold the country together because he's from Judah. So this is going to be a challenge for him. So God says, yes, go to Hebron and let's move on, basically. So it tells us in the second pasuk that he takes his two wives that he has acquired during his running from Shaul, Achinoam, and Abigail. And it's interesting that they are referred to not as the wives of David necessarily, but that Abigail is still referred to by her identified with her first husband, Nabal, the Carmelite, and Ahinoam, from the Jezreel Valley. So then, and it says that all of David's men took their wives and their children and they go with him. They're very loyal to David, even though they've had their ups and downs, they've had their moments. They've had their times with him when they didn't agree with him, but he was always right, and they knew it, and they respected him. So go ahead.
The men of Judah came, and there they anointed David as king of the house of Judah.
Okay, so go ahead.
It was told to David, saying, it was the men of
Yeah,
Jabes
yeah.
Gilead who buried Shaul.
So so he comes back to Judah. They come back, basically welcomed home by the tribe of Judah, and the people of Judah anoint David as king. What does it say? Over the house of Judah. It doesn't say the
Over
king of
Israel.
Israel,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay. David understands that in order to bring peace and unity to the country of Israel, he's going to have to do his um, entry as king very gradually. He's not stupid. This is a bright, smart man. Even though he has been chased all over the country by Shaul, most people didn't really know much about David. They went to work, they got up in the morning, they went to work, they fed their kids, they went to bed, they took care of their property, they tilled the soil, whatever, they built tents, they built houses, and this whole story of David and Shaul wasn't in the newspaper and on YouTube every day. People didn't know so much about it. There was no way that they all knew from the top of the country, the most northern part of the country, and all the tribes, all the way down to the tribe of Judah. There was very little information, and people, for quite frankly, only wanted to know that they were safe. They didn't really care who was doing what to whom, as long as they were safe and they could live in peace. And so they knew that Shaul had been buried by the people of Yavesh Gilead, and that Saul was no longer king. But but they actually didn't know what was going to happen next. And so now we're going to get into the story of what happens to the people of Israel and the tribe of Judah. And I actually think this is a good place to stop because it's a break between the end of the rule of Shaul and then the beginning of the rise, or at least the beginning of the country understanding who David is. So I think we're going to stop here, and next week we'll pick up with this pasuk where we go into some very, very challenging and very awful things that happened in our country. So I think I'll spare you this right now. And next time we meet, we will have the opportunity to go through chapter 2 of Sefer Shmuel Bet. Okay, are there any questions or comments?